The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, October 23rd. And today is a National Horror Movie Day. I'm not a big fan of horror movies personally.
That's something horror movie.
Yeah, horror movies.
Horror.
Yeah, horror
Not
movies.
Horror movies, but horror. Okay.
Yeah, horror. Yeah.
Horror.
Yeah. Horror, you know what I mean?
There's an extra or on there.
Yeah. Does that mean horror or non-or? Well, it's also, you can't have a horror movie without it's National Boston Cream Pie Day, Stone.
I do like it, it's that is a stoner craving there. I'll fuck up a Boston cream pie. Excuse me.
With some Nilla wafers, you know what I mean?
Oh man.
Yeah. Yes. I'm with you on that, Stone. I'm with you on that, buddy. I am with you on that. Let's see what else do we got today? We got something else going on too, I think, today. We also have, let's see, it's also Swallows Depart from San Juan Capistrano Day.
That's too much.
You thought I was going to say, I said swallow, and you thought I was going to talking about Boston cream pie, huh, Stone? I knew it.
I thought you were going back to the previous conversation.
I saw that.
Like that, yeah.
I saw that in your stash. It's also National iPod Day today, you guys. Do people still use iPods?
Would we do away with a day if it's no longer relevant? Come on.
We get a veto on this.
It's kind of like, I think it's kind of like, like the internet. It's like once it's up there, you know what I mean? It's always up there until, whoever was the person that put it up there deletes it.
Okay. Celebrate them if you got them.
Yeah. Well, it's also National Mole Day. Shout out to some mole. Yeah. You ever been to Hole?
Lots of that in the ATX.
You ever been, do they have a Hole Mole out there in the ATX?
No, but just, some good mole dishes.
Whoa. He said ATX. Wait. That's right.
Stop, you guys. Stop. I'm talking about Hole Mole, bro. Hole Mole is amazing. It's this little Mexican restaurant that they got chained that they got out here.
The subject, dude. So you said ATX.
He said Austin. He said Austin, Texas, Dale.
Can we roll the tape back?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We all heard it. Now, when you said mole, I thought he was going to say mustache. That looks all right, Stone. I wasn't ready for that.
Thank you. I'm preparing for Halloween.
He's getting on his, yeah. Is that what that's called? Thought you were going to do a Marlboro commercial. Should be the Marlboro man for Halloween, Stone.
The Errol Flynn look. There you go.
It's very transformative, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, it's very Texas of you, Stone.
Appreciate it.
The red part. It's also National TV Talk Show Host Day today, you guys.
Oh my God!
Here we go.
I think
What a disgusting group that is.
Whatever.
Right?
Easy there. Well, we're a morning show.
It's not your child. Okay, great.
Yeah. You are not the father. Yeah.
You're not the father.
Yes. And Anna Lewis in the chat, she says that it's National VHS Day today.
All right.
That did not pop up on my calendar, but VHS. VHS, yeah. You remember videos? You know what I mean? Like
VHS.
VHS,
okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny if the iPod people took the VHS people's fire right there? They're like, well, the VHS people don't need National VHS Day anymore, right? And so we're like, we'll just make it iPod Day.
Yeah.
And now iPods are gone, so is it National Spotify Day?
Well, that presents a thing.
Are we there where corporate gets their own day yet, or is it just still only conceptual?
Well, the thing about it is that, you know, that the problem, there's going to be a big confusion gap though, Nate, because then Blu-ray is going to want a day, and it's going to be National Blu-ray Day, and it's not, the people aren't going to know if it's for movies or if it's for animals.
There probably is a Blu-ray Day and a Betamax.
All the animals are going to probably say that it's, or all the animal lovers, all the PETA people are going to be like, oh no, protect the Blu-rays, and you know what I mean? You know, you already know how it goes. Bro. Well, anyways.
Well, tomorrow's National Toe Fungus Day, so let's get ready to celebrate that, right?
Whoa. Speaking of that, we're cutting that stuff out. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. We are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And man, I have a great story to start this off with today, you guys. Stone, you might as well pop a can, because Circle K is to sell hemp THC beverages nationwide in 2026. That's right. Significant things for the THC beverage sector are afoot at the Circle K, because the ubiquitous roadside retailer and convenience store chain plans to start selling hemp-derived THC beverages in as many as 3,000 stores nationwide sometime next year, the company officials told MJ Biz Daily. This after Circle K rolls out hemp THC beverages produced by Horticulture Co. and branded by former NBA star Allen Iverson in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida sometime in the final quarter of 2025. It's the latest and most ambitious step in the cannabis space for Circle K, which made a limited incursion into hemp drinks earlier this year in Georgia. And it's also the most recent and possibly the most prominent example of a mainstream retailer embracing a THC product. In a quote, "This partnership makes the brand one of the most accessible in the space overnight and boosts awareness of the category within one of the most trusted retail environments, all while reinforcing both brand credibility and consumer confidence," Saf Sadiq, Horticulture CEO, told MJ Biz Daily on Wednesday. "It's about as close to a national rollout as the industry has seen to date, and the largest in scale by any chain retailer," he says. National rollout for cannabis product in the mainstream retail, because Circle K's partnership with Horticulture Co. also realizes a years-long effort by the Quebec headquartered retail giant to add cannabis products to its shelves. A 2022 landmark deal to co-locate medical marijuana dispensaries operated by major multi-state operator Green Thumb Industries with Circle K gas stations in Florida fell apart after state MMJ regulators rejected the idea. That was just a poll press release. That was never going to happen in the first place. But they say that shouldn't be a concern for hemp-derived THC beverages, which for now lie outside of regulated cannabis channels in the United States. Circle K made limited incursions into hemp-derived THC in Georgia and Florida earlier this year after launching the Iverson drinks in the Carolinas and Florida. Circle K plans to expand hemp beverages across Circle K's U.S. stores network and in states where THC products are authorized for sale sometime in 2026, according to the company. Produced in partnership with Viola, the company founded by fellow former NBA star Al Harrington, the Iverson THC drinks will have 10 milligrams of THC per can, according to the convenience store trade publication C-Store Dive. And it's a major milestone for hemp THC beverages because and the cannabis industry, because if the nationwide expansion plans are realized, the potential is immense, as are the implications for the $32 billion U.S. cannabis industry as it exists. Circle K and its parent company, Laval, Quebec-based Almenation Couche-Tard, operate nearly 10,000 stores in North America in the 48 United States and Canadian provinces. And many observers believe that cannabis products sold alongside other consumer products on mainstream store shelves rather than in dispensaries or marijuana-only stores is the industry's next major evolution. And in a quote, they say, "Not only does Circle K's adoption of Iverson products confer major legitimacy to the hemp sector, it's a further wake-up call to the cannabis industry," said Steve Sashin, a cannabis-focused attorney and counsel of Melkin Law. "Like it or not, the marketplace embraces hemp-derived intoxicants as warmly as it does naturally occurring Delta-9. The third major retailer to carry hemp-derived beverages is Circle K, is also at least the second major retail chain to jump into the burgeoning hemp drink sector in October. And earlier this month, big box giant Target announced it would begin selling hemp-derived THC beverages at 10 of its stores in Minnesota, where the state law allows hemp products to be sold in mainstream stores. And that follows major liquor retailer Total Wine and Spirits' embrace of hemp beverages. An observer said the development is more confirmation that consumers want access to THC products regardless of whether state lawmakers can pass legislation. In a quote, they say, "The community is resilient and resourceful, and Circle K clearly saw the opportunity to give the people what they want, just like Target and Total Wine have done in previous weeks and months," said entrepreneur Josh Kesselman, the founder of Raw Rolling Papers, which are also found at Circle K locations. "The genie is not going back in the lamp at this point, with consumer trends going toward hemp beverages and away from alcohol," they says. And hemp THC's popularity continues despite lingering questions of the Farm Bill redo. And notably, neither of the Carolinas allow any regulated cannabis access outside of tribal areas, though hemp products can be found in both states. And Florida has a relatively robust marijuana program where several MSOs that are active there also branched out into the hemp space amid stalled efforts to pass a constitutional amendment to legalize adult use cannabis in Florida. And major retailers are turning toward hemp-derived THC products in spite of strong signals from state and federal lawmakers that they're not satisfied with the status quo for hemp products created by the 2018 Farm Bill. And in a quote, "Circle K has taken a giant leap forward among very uncertain waters," Sashin said. And the Farm Bill signed into law in December of 2018 by President Donald J. Trump in his first term, legalized hemp production nationwide and led to the intended and expected proliferation of intoxicating hemp THC products nationwide, including in many states where cannabis remains illegal. And that's led to prohibition-minded politicians in states such as Texas to move to ban the products. But however, in that state, considered to be the largest individual hemp market in the country, Governor Greg Abbott opted out instead to impose regulations, including minimum purchase age requirements. And meanwhile, in Congress, hemp advocates like Kentucky Republican Senator Marijuana Mitch McConnell are intent on closing what they decry as a loophole, which I say is total BS, but whatever, and recriminalizing product offerings like the Iverson beverages at Circle K. But with opposition from his own party and state, one attempt to redefine hemp under federal law was thwarted earlier this summer by Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. And hemp products remain ambiguously legal in the U.S. and absolutely available. And that should lead to more big chains following in the Circle K and Target's footsteps, Josh Kesselman predicted. He says, "Until the Farm Bill changes, if it changes at all, expect more major retailers to open their shelves to cannabis products," he says. Well, I find it interesting that MJ Biz Daily had Josh Kesselman quote in this article, especially since now he's a competing article with High Times. But nonetheless, I'm going to tell you this. This is what I really think of this whole article. This just proves to me, Nate especially, that cannabis beverages are truly nothing more than gas station weed. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
This THCA, or is this some other isomer of THC?
This is hemp-based products. This is hemp-based THC. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is like that low stuff that, like 2 milligram per can kind of thing. You know what I mean?
So just for a quick reality check on the math right there.
Yeah.
So, assuming that a soft drink weighs the same as water, right?
Okay.
Which, that's
8 ounces, 12 ounces, whatever. Yeah.
1 gram of water 1 gram of water is 1 milliliter. So you can assume, and then when you consider like a lot of soft drinks out there, over 300, milliliters, consider this kind of stuff. So for every 100 milliliters, based on the 0.3%, threshold given by Farm Bill that you just alluded to, that's 3 milligrams. So every 100 milliliters, 3 milligrams, assuming it weighs the same as water.
So you're saying
so you can make a 300 milliliter beverage, which is about the size. I mean, I don't know exactly, but pretty close to the size of a can of soda. I mean, 1 cup of water alone is like 250 milliliters, right? So for every 100 milliliters, you can have 3 milligrams. So 200 milliliter beverage, 6 milligrams, you have something that's just over 300 milliliters, you have a 10 milligram beverage. It is. And so when you consider this stuff, it's kind of funny because we're talking about products that are completely legal. They are staying underneath that 0.3% threshold, no matter how you read the law. This is what that law intended, is that 0.3% threshold.
That's what I try to tell people all the time.
Because politicians don't really know how to do math, that they basically made 10 milligram beverages. Well,
Trust me.
Think about it.
You've obviously never watched their stock trades. They definitely know how to do math.
I mean, I know they know people who know how to do math, but what I would say about that is, if you're suggesting, I mean, my argument works tenfold, my opinion, if you were to suggest that they did know exactly what they're doing, because that means this was exactly intended to be that Trojan horse that just got cannabis beverages, especially soft drinks, into every last facet of life.
I know.
And what I would also say to that is, when you say gas station stuff, you nailed it. This is the kind of shit, like I have no qualms against getting a bottle of water or a can of soda from a gas station that has been sealed in a factory that has so much more to lose if they F up than if the gas station does, right? So from that perspective, I would say that's exactly the kind of stuff that.
So I guess you're advertising
drinks. Yes.
Hold on. So
hell yeah.
So what you're advocating for is for flour and tuna cans, then also, Nate. By that analysis.
Come on.
Yeah, just what he's advocating for.
I've had cannabis that's been packed in a can before.
That is literally that's true cannabis right there. That's true cannabis.
With you, and I know your preference. And my apologies if you have any sponsors who are canned cannabis, but that is not the way to go, brother.
I'm just saying, Nate, that is true cannabis right there if you get it in a tuna can.
It is nitrogen packed and it tastes like, I don't know, dry lettuce. It is not what you want to have in your life. Trust me.
Dale's getting fired up right now. He loves dad jokes.
Shit. That's what it tastes like.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
It should be on the can. Back to the story, though. There's a lot of good drinks out on the market, whether it's made with hemp or whatever. Like Nate said, I mean, I can walk into a store and you can buy 10, 50, 100 milligram drink directly from either one of the hemp dispensaries that are around town, or I haven't seen what exactly is in the gas stations. There's like little boutique gas stations like up the street here that have some of those products too.
See,
but I think it's great. I think it's a great normalization move. The only thing I am a little upset about is that it's coochie tarded that the cannabis industry can't be a part of this.
They are
separating.
They are.
No,
they are. It's all the same plant, Stone. It's all the same plant, bro. It's all the same plant.
It isn't. The people that are in the cannabis industry are not.
There's two different markets. You have to realize it's all the same plant. Two different markets. There's a regulated market and the free market. Which one do you want to play in? Which sandbox? Play in both. Lower your packaging costs.
This lines up almost anybody too. Just in case you're listening, can you set up a lemonade stand, get people high off it, and call it hemp? I don't see why not.
Why not? Why not? You just drop some little disty drops in there. You know what I'm saying?
Right within the realm of the law.
Yeah.
Like it's just hemp, right?
It's just hemp.
And it's just math.
It all depends on how old the people are working though at the lemonade stand though, Nate. That's the difference.
How well defined are even the age limits for hemp industry versus what people's lawyers are just telling them to not get in trouble though?
I think 18 and over is pretty fair for any intoxicating substance.
21
pretty acceptable.
Yeah.
Ooh. A lot of parents out there disagree with that, Jason.
They can disagree all they want. People can be wrong. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I know because, we're listening to people be wrong on the show all the time.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. We're guessing at what's coming. And just to be blunt about this, as hemp rolls out, even legislators understand that now we have an industry that's multi-billion dollar. We can go look at it and touch it and talk to people about it, and they don't want to pull the plug. When it comes to the black market, they're willing to go pull the plug on that. So this is moving the goal line closer to just stop the nonsense about, it's the cannabis plant produces certain molecules. You have an artificial distinction in there, which is just not worth a shit anymore because everyone's going around it. And, when even in Rand Paul's looking at this going, we got an industry going. We're not going to just pull the rug out from underneath it. Republicans recognize that. Maybe we can get something actually done, or maybe we'll just keep circle jerking here for another, decade. Who knows?
Fair enough. And on that, we are going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back. Today. Yes, and we are back, you guys. We are back. I have one more chilling tale. We had, fun, sipping on those little bevies on the first one. But you know what, Stone, get ready to have to pour your can out for the dead homies, because the Ohio House passes a bill regulating intoxicating hemp products and changes the state's marijuana laws, you guys. That's right. Ohio Senate Bill 56, which passed with bipartisan support, heads back to the Senate for concurrence. The Ohio House passed a bill on Wednesday that will make changes to the state's marijuana laws and add regulations to intoxicating hemp products. Ohio Senate Bill 56, which is in its 18th version, passed with a vote of 86-8. That's a pretty big pass. The bill heads back to the Senate for concurrence. 4 Republicans, State Representative Tim Barhorst, Levi Dean, Jennifer Gross, and DJ Swearigan, voted against the bill, and 3 Democrats also voted against the bill as well. State Reps Christine Cockley, Ishmael Mohammed, and Desiree Timms. The Senate passed the bill in February, but the House has made significant changes, most notably by adding intoxicating hemp regulations. And State Senator Steve Huffman, Republican from Tip City, introduced the bill in January. And then a quote says, "I've heard throughout this process now for a very long time from folks in the hemp industry, regulate us like marijuana, regulate us like marijuana. And that's what the theme of this that is what the theme of this bill," said State Representative Brian Stewart, Republican from Asheville. The 2018 Farm Bill says hemp can be grown legally if it contains less than 0.3% THC. And in an additional quote, "I think we had an agreement that was not the intent of the hemp legislation at the federal level or here in Ohio, but we did need to do something to protect kids from these products," said State Rep Tex Fisher, a Republican from Boardman. "This legislation closes loopholes to ensure that only 21 plus individuals are able to access these products and purchase them. And only a licensed hemp dispensary would be able to sell intoxicating hemp products to adults 21 and older, and the dispensaries would be required to meet standards for testing, advertising, and packaging. And a 10% tax would be added to intoxicating hemp sales." In a quote, "This bill creates a legal pathway for the sale of regulated, licensed, tested, safely grown, intoxicating hemp products for a limited number of hemp dispensaries," Stewart said. And the bill would limit the number of active hemp dispensaries to 400, and the bill would allow certain hemp dispensaries to be grandfathered in if they sold intoxicating hemp products on or before August 30th. And hemp products sales surpassed 80% of their total sales for 2024, or for the 12 months before the bill takes effect. However, if more than 400 dispensaries are licensed due to the grandfather provision, the Division of Marijuana Control would not be able to issue any more licenses until the number of grandfather dispensaries drops below 400. Gross, who voted against the bill, said the measure is at odds with federal law, and she also said she heard from 5 businesses in her district that this bill effectively kills large swaths of Ohio's hemp industry. In a quote, "It is right to remove packaging which dangerously attracts children, to enforce age restrictions, as well as set limits on advertising to the younger generations," Gross said. "But this bill is not ready. This bill takes a hatchet to these small businesses." The bill defines an intoxicating hemp product as containing no more than 0.5 milligrams of Delta-9 THC per serving, or 2 milligrams of Delta-9 THC per package, or 0.5 milligrams of total non-Delta-9 THC per package. THC-infused beverages are also included in the bill, and a bar or restaurant would be able to sell 5 milligram THC-infused beverages for patrons to drink on site, while a store would be able to sell 10 milligram THC-infused beverages for carryout. What if you had a carryout section in your bar? Well, in an additional quote, "I think it strikes the appropriate tone of a reasonable, fair, and pro-business regulatory regime, while still maintaining that these products and consumers should be safe and should only be accessible to 21-plus adults," Fisher said. Under this bill, the Division of Marijuana Control in the Ohio Department of Commerce would be responsible for regulating intoxicating hemp products, and the Division of Liquor Control in the Department of Commerce would be in charge of regulating THC-infused drinks. Jim Hagedorn, co-founder of Cornbread Hemp in Kentucky, which sells its products in more than 300 Ohio retail stores, called this bill by far the strangest in all the states that have passed hemp legalization this year. Says, "This bill appears to ban the sale of hemp edibles with more than 2 milligrams of THC per package in all groceries and convenience stores, while also legalizing 10 milligram THC beverages in those same stores," Hagedorn said in a statement. "It's difficult to understand how that makes sense when all these products should be simply age-gated and taxed appropriately." The bill is substantially different from when it came over from the first Senate earlier this year, and House Speaker Matt Hoffman, Republican from Lima, said, "My number one priority is getting this issue resolved," he said. "My priorities within the bill are certainly public safety, limiting access, certainly to minors, and making sure that there's some regulation in process." Ohio Governor Mike DeWine recently announced a 90-day executive order that bans the sale of intoxicating hemp products that started on October 14th, and Franklin County Court of Common Pleas Judge Carl Avini granted a 14-day temporary restraining order on the DeWine's executive order. The next hearing in that case is scheduled for October 28th. But there's marijuana changes in SB 56 would reduce the THC levels in adult use marijuana extracts from a maximum of 90% down to a maximum of 70% THC cap levels in adult use flower to 35%, and limit the number of active marijuana dispensaries and prohibit smoking in most public places. It would keep Ohio's home grow at the same at a limit of 6 plants per person and 12 per household. And Ohioans passed a citizen initiative law to legalize adult use marijuana back in 2023 with 57% of the vote, and sales started in August of 2024. In Ohio, adult use marijuana sales topped $702.5 million in the first year, and Ohio lawmakers can change that law since it passed as a citizen initiative, not a constitutional amendment. Interesting. But in a quote, they say, "Virtually everything that Ohioans can do today under the initiated statute will be just as legal after the passage of this bill," Stewart said. But one change, however, is banning of smoking in most public places. "Our constituents have also made clear that we don't want every downtown in Ohio to smell like a Grateful Dead concert," Stewart said that. And the bill would give 36% of adult use marijuana sale revenue to municipalities and townships that have adult use cannabis dispensaries, which was originally introduced in the citizen-initiated law voters passed in 2023. And people would also be able to apply for expungement of low-level marijuana convictions instead of getting rid of them automatically. And they say, if you smoked a joint when you were 18 in 2002, in your 40s, you should not have barriers to housing or employment or public services because you got in trouble when you were 18 for doing something that is now completely legal, said Ohio House Minority Leader Danny Ishokone, a Democrat from Cincinnati. Well, Ohio. I do agree with the cornbread mafia and the fact that it doesn't make sense that, you can have 2 milligrams in a package of this, but you can have 10 milligrams in a beverage. That makes absolutely no sense to me, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
ridiculous overregulation, making it as confusing as they possibly can, only going to help the illicit market. And can I just say, the weed at the Grateful Dead concert is not what smells bad. So,
Oh my goodness.
Well, this is still in the sausage making process, and it's got to be reconciled. And then Wine, I think, has a chance to veto it. So let's see. I mean, he's trying to clamp down, and the court stopped him. That may piss him off enough to veto this. It just seems to confuse. How do you make sense out of this? As Stone pointed out, how do you make sense out of it? You can get this much in a beverage and that much. It's like, just stop it. It's still circling around trying to figure out how to make sense out of this, and nobody has really figured out how to do that yet.
One of the things that popped out to me was the controls that they're putting, the maximum for THC levels on extract. The reason why extracts are the percentages they are is because that's what they're naturally extracted at. If you tell people to be below certain levels, they're going to throw effing fillers at this stuff. Like, you're literally encouraging people to start trying to use fillers. What they called Vapegate was quite a few years ago, but that was the last time people tried using fillers. It literally created levels of something between people dying and levels of conspiracy that suggests that it was somehow a two-way street with COVID cover-ups and shit like that. It was absolutely mind-boggling to see how harmful it was, both medically as well as socially. It was like using fillers on natural products is not the way to go. And if that's what people think is a benefit, they don't know. And then if they're trying to cap 35%ers, I mean, are you ready for a lot of 34% nine?
Yeah, I mean, Nate,
cannabis in the market?
You're a lab guy. The labs are going to be fraudulent. They'll just be like, yeah, we'll test you at 34.9. Don't worry. You know what I mean? Don't worry if it's.
Or they'll tell you to use fillers. Yeah, they'll say, hey, my cousin knows this filler, guy, and you should hit them up.
Add some shake.
That's what happened last time.
Add some shake to your bigs.
It's absolutely nuts what it did, and it's results of overregulation. Like Stone put out there, like literally just trying to control like these little aspects will have massive consequences, and people don't realize that. Speaking of massive consequences, before I give anybody any wrong information, if you were to dose up to the maximum of 100 milliliter beverage, I said it was 3 milligrams. I was so wrong. I actually took a dab while you were talking right there, and the math caught up with me. And I went, holy geez, it's actually for every 100 milligrams to stay within the 0.3%.
Yeah.
For every 100 milliliters to stay within the 0.3%, it is 300 milligrams.
That's what I'm saying.
So I apologize for that bad information right there. But yeah, within a relatively small amount of drink, what will fit in the palm of your hand can, within the realms of hemp, actually hold 300 milligrams, which is enough to say good night to well over half the population. Like that'll nail you to the wall. So just to put that out there, as well, as far as responsibility also includes good math.
Well, fair enough.
Well, what I've seen, Nate, is that there's a lot of knuckleheads out there who think they know something about a polar, non-polar substance and differences. Alcohol comes out of a still at 151, 75% basically. It's a polar molecule. You mix some water with it and dilute it, and you get down to where you want to go. I remember when people were talking about vitamin E acetate. And some idiot actually told me, well, this is generally regarded as safe. Yeah, if you rub it on your fucking skin, you idiot. But if you smoke it, what did your mom drop you on your head a lot when you were a kid?
Apparently.
And when you try to have a discussion about a polar versus a non-polar molecule, they look at you like, what are you talking about? Well, listen, idiot, it's water and oil. They don't mix. Your system is water. You start sticking around with oil, putting oil in your system, it's not set to deal with that, and especially to stick it in your lungs. Can you imagine heating up Crisco and smoking Crisco, what that would do to your lungs? And I had these discussions with people who made like an inhaler. Okay, well, the propellant's safe. and it's got THC in it. And it's like, has anybody tested whether you can shove THC into your lungs, the propellant, and not kill somebody? Well, what do you, it's like, listen, wherever you got your fucking PhD in chemistry, send it back, because you have no idea what you're talking about.
These are mistakes that are commonly made. I have seen people, to your example, not only suggest a respiratory propellant that you're, a lung route of administration you're using, but not knowing to actually pay attention to the type of extraction method that was used to have extracted the cannabis in the first place, and to see what levels of residual solvents are in there. And even if there are residual solvents in there that just simply don't hit certain marks, those marks have been created under the guise of this being something that is going to be heated, and in a lot of ways these volatile substances are going to be cooked off or absorbed in water or any other number of filtration properties that are out there, rather than being injected directly into your lungs, which is a very bad idea. And so there's so many different things that people just simply don't consider because they don't know. They just think they have the next $1 million idea, and they just have Shark Tank on the mind and they're going for it. And that's all that you get.
Nate,
to anybody else that was hyper zoned in on that, vitamin E acetate is that filler that I alluded to earlier that people were using before that, was insanely harmful, that people were using to dilute their smokable oil in vapes so many years ago. Jason,
Nate, you know what? All these labs out in Ohio, they're only going to have one song on their playlist now. You know what that's going to be?
I'm trying to think your product,
and probably when they put you on hold, this song is going to play on on repeat when they put you on hold. It's going to be OT Genesis. You've got to cut it.
Oh, please.
You heard that playing in your head the whole time.
The whole time. That's all I could. I was like, oh, these guys. This is how it's going to go.
I think there's a diagnosis for that somewhere.
Oh man, so I see what you did there, Dale. Well, speaking of diagnoses, we're going to roll right in to attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, correctional officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He is blunt. And he is honest, but he's unconcerned with your opinion, public opinions, and anyone else's opinion, no matter how they want to identify. And he will show you how you can piss up a rope and defy gravity. But he's also your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office, at the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. It's Tio Loco, your favorite full of shitakis, one more time.
Yeah.
And today's story was yesterday at a Marijuana Moment. And it was by Kyle Yeager, and the headline is Ahead of New Jersey Governor Election, GOP Candidates Comments on Marijuana as a Gateway Drug Resurface. Well, I pulled this up and read it, and it's classic. We've got someone who has a history of perhaps being a drug prohibitionist, and someone who may be out there in La La Land who wants to reschedule as a way to solve this problem. And we've got a Republican, Jack Ciattarelli, I believe is how you pronounce his name. And he's, in his past, he's called cannabis or marijuana a gateway drug. Always gives me some concern. It's like, who put that stupid shit in your ear? Because the gateway in this country is something before cannabis, at least historically has been, whatever the first substance you use is your gateway drug. Alcohol and tobacco were typically it. But, that just gives me a little hint that, perhaps you're full of shit. Okay? He's okay with home grows at this point. He opposes recreational cannabis use. He also opposed adding PTSD to the list of ailments that you can get medical cannabis for. And he would be happy to reverse what's going on with recreational marijuana and, normal, which, you can take them for what you think they're worth. They gave him a D. Okay. So, we have this is the Republican candidate, not somebody I would, want to go out and have an in-depth discussion about where you are with cannabis. I think he's going to drag his feet as much as he can. Then the other side, we got Mikey Sherrill, who I think is a congressperson at this point, still has been in Congress, and she supports rescheduling. And that caught my attention. It's like, what do we have to say to these folks? Get them to understand is that that's a corner it's going to take the industry into and you can't get out of, and then it's going to go to the pharmaceutical industry. You know, why is this so hard to understand? But that's what we got on the other side. She does want to remove it from Schedule 1. You know, yeah, it should never have been there because, as we know now, after Sue Sisley, there's accepted use of THC for PTSD. CBDs and Epidiolex, it's out there. So to say with a straight face there's no currently acceptable medical use for cannabis, it's stupid. It should not fit in that category, and hopefully someone will fix that, and maybe they'll have to do the courts to fix that. Now, there's common sense regulations that are, you know, they use terms like that. I don't know exactly what that's supposed to mean. I'd like to have a little more detail about this, because what we've seen so far, regulations, I really haven't seen a lot of them that in the final analysis are common sense. Somebody's shoehorned to, you know, talk some smack about regulating this stuff. It really is nonsensical. I mean, I don't know what this means. It's a term that we'll fill in the details later. I don't particularly like that. But with politicians, try to get a straight answer out of them. You know, it's like trying to teach a pig to sing. At the end of the day, everyone's pissed off and they're still not going to give you a straight answer. But the stage seems to be set. A Republican who seems to want to take, you know, a pathway to roll back legalization. And we've got a Democrat who's talking about common sense regulations, which scares the shit out of me from a Democrat. But they also talk about rescheduling. How do we parse this waters? Who would be a better candidate here? I don't want to roll back, you know, legalization. I'm not anticipating that's going to happen here. But what does it mean with this other stuff? You know, reschedule and common sense regulations. The problem we have right now is that I don't see common sense regulations. I see over-regulation. I see overtaxing. And, you know, what is that going to mean? And we're going to go into the campaign season. We're going to get a whole lot of what I call nonsense coming out of politicians' mouths, trying to not have to take any position, and you can't pin them down. Oh, this caught my attention as this, you know, to go into the next year's, you know, political season, and even after watching the debate with, you know, the mayors for New York, it's like, this is going to be a clown show coming up. And this, you know, story outlines another clown show coming up. And when do we get politicians who would sit down and really be honest with you? I'm not going to hold my breath, but I'm going to throw us back at you guys for some discussion about what we think is going to come out of this if either one of these two prevails.
Interesting. Well, Dale, I mean, if they want to repeal it, I guess they're going to have to wait and see kind of what happens in Massachusetts, right? Because, I mean, they're the farthest along in being able to do something like that.
Well, they're going to try, but see, I keep hoping that the voters are going to throw something out for initiative, try to recall it. The voters go, yeah, fuck you. We're not going to do that. And it's like, oh, you spent $30 million on what? Maybe you should have gone and asked people what they want. That really still is the problem I have with politics today. The average voter is not really being represented by either side right now because we got this big gap in the middle, 36% of the population out there that thinks both sides are full of shit. And how do you appeal to them? And I don't know that this story is going to appeal to either one of them because it's easy to point out how, you know, both sides are just full of shit up to their eyeballs. So, you know, I would hope the voters would throw some of these initiatives back, and maybe somebody would wake up and pay attention to the voters. But, you know, I'm too old to hold my breath that long.
What do you think about this, Stone?
I just the way it started with with Mr.
We know you love prohibitionists. We know you love prohibitionists.
The guy just started with the gateway shit, man. Come on, like I think reported a week or two ago about you know, it's the exit door from addiction. Like this is prohibition bullshit. I'm sick of hearing it.
Those are Stone's triggers, just so you know. Dale. Those are yeah.
But we fumbled the war on drugs so badly, and these tropes that keep coming up, the average person knows they're just full of shit. And what we found out now, I mean, Ozempic now is probably the best anti-drug that's come along in a long time. Cannabis helps people not to chase the monkey.
Yeah.
And when do we get to talk about that? Because that's still clouded in mystery in the eyes of prohibitionists. We can't talk about that. Well, maybe we should, because the war on drugs has been a miserable failure. And this is just part of, how do we loosen up the war on drugs? Look at the battles we're having right now over trying to legalize cannabis. It should be the easiest of the substances to legalize. We're still fighting this battle. And we have we can't blow up every ship coming out of, or every boat coming out of Colombia and Venezuela to try to stop drugs. We have to do, think of something a little more creative that actually works. And prohibition model is an unmitigated failure. How many times we have to tell people it's insane to keep doing the same shit over and over again and expecting a different result?
Well, Dale, in all fairness, Battleship was one of my favorite games as a kid.
You cut out there. I didn't hear what you said.
I just said Battleship was one of my favorite games as a kid.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, but I went to prison for weed, and that was no fucking Battleship game.
It definitely. Well, that's definitely not a Battleship game. That's more like Gladiator School over there, Dale.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
Well, and they didn't give a shit. Obama made sure I went to prison.
Exactly.
So it's like I still have some concerns about that guy. But this really is not a game anymore. Okay, and as you make inroads in an industry, it's like Circle K, the famous stop and rob, across the country. They're going to get them in their stores, and they're going to be able to go to Congress and sit down with Rand Paul and go, you know what, we got a business going here. Let's not go backwards. Let's keep going forward. It's probably going to get a lot further down the road than this nonsense we're talking about now.
It is. We do need to have collaborative efforts from big industry to really kind of advance the needle, because the cannabis industry has proven one thing, is that they are 100% incapable of moving anything anywhere politically.
Yeah. Well, they suffer still from this mindset that we're at the hog farm and the Grateful Dead's going to come give us a concert and we're going to feed everybody free food. And everything's just going to be great and kumbaya. And it's like people walk in my office and go, we're going broke. Well, okay, how many bud tenders you got? Well, I had 10 because it was a great thing. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You got to run a business here.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's, I get accused of being all kinds of shit because I don't jump on these bandwagons. But I've watched people go under enough to know that you have to have a solid business plan here.
Yeah.
And you can't be altruistic. You got to make money. And if you're not on that bandwagon, you're going under, and you can blame whoever you want. This is business, guys.
Yep.
You're not making money. You're a hobby.
Yep.
How many people are going to fund your hobby before they pull the plug and you're sent to receivership?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
That pisses a lot of my friends off in the industry, as they still are deluded in thinking that we can do all this great stuff with weed. Yeah.
There's so many people in the space that live in Delulu Lemonville, you know what I'm saying, and don't like to hear the truth, and that's just what it is. And Delulu Lemonville, just so anyone didn't know, it's a neighborhood right inside of Austin, Texas, because anyone that doesn't know their own name of their city, that's where they live too. But nonetheless. Yeah!
Get out of here. You trying to see if I'm awake?
He said ATX, Stone. He said ATX.
Yep. I had to.
Beginning of the show.
Yeah.
You acknowledged the truth.
What? Austin, Texas is the truth. Yeah.
You put out the ATX. We'll roll the tape back. We're good.
Fair enough. On that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't. I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months. I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me. We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created. Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees? All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
Yes. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app.
Where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfers, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
Oh, and we are back. And we are going to roll like some tumbleweed right into the great city of Austin, Texas, for our good buddies, Mr. Stone Slade, who all of a sudden, I feel like his stash needs a name. Not his stash of Delta 8, but his stash on his face. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Stone Slade.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yes.
That was a good one, Jason.
Yes.
I like it. I like how you brought it all together.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That was all off the cuff, too, you know.
Very nice.
Yes.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Woo. All right. As much as I have to hand it to Jason, you got to hand it to Colombian President Gustavo Petro. The guy's not afraid to shoot his shot. This week, he tossed a curveball straight across the diplomatic plate to Donald Trump, proposing a new kind of trade deal. Forget the war on drugs and do business with the plant instead of against it. In a post on X, Petro suggested that U.S. lift tariffs on Colombian agricultural goods, and here's the headline: legalize Colombian cannabis exports to the United States. Not cocaine, not coffee, but cannabis. The same crop that we've been fighting wars for decades could now be the bridge between two nations that have spent half a century tangled in narco politics. Petro's argument is pretty simple. If Colombian farmers can legally grow and export cannabis like they do bananas or flowers, they'd have no reason to plant coca. Give farmers fertile land near cities, he says, open the legal markets, and you'll weaken the cartels the old-fashioned way by outcompeting them. He even quoted the United Nations' own reclassification of cannabis, noting that the plant is no longer listed as a dangerous substance, which, when you think about it, makes the U.S. look a little behind the times. Our federal government still calls cannabis a Schedule I drug right there next to heroin, while Colombia, of all places, is asking us to loosen up. Petro's proposal goes beyond trade. He's calling for the U.S. to invest in agrarian reform, buy Colombian agricultural products from regions transitioning away from illicit crops, and build a more rational, scientific drug policy that studies whether prohibition even makes sense anymore. He's also pressing for global cooperation to track and seize drug money, arguing that the real kingpins aren't in the jungle, they're in the boardrooms and banks laundering billions every year. Petro's message hits a nerve that's been exposed for decades. Colombia takes the bullets while the U.S. and Europe take the drugs. Hundreds of thousands of Colombians have been killed in the crossfire since the 80s, and yet here we are still pretending that prohibition's working. What's especially interesting is that Petro aimed this pitch directly at Trump. Maybe he's betting on Trump's self-proclaimed love of great deals. Maybe he figures the guy who brags about tariffs might actually like the idea of removing some, especially if there's a business opportunity in it. If you strip away the politics, what Petro is suggesting isn't that radical. It's economics 101. If the legal market pays better than the illegal one, people will follow the money. Farmers don't dream of growing cocaine. They grow what keeps food on the table. If Colombia starts legally exporting cannabis, it won't just reshape U.S.-Colombia relations. It could completely flip the global cannabis economy. Imagine Colombian flower hitting international markets with the same reputation as its coffee. That could make California, Oregon, and Colorado look like boutique micro-grows. Of course, this is all hypothetical. The U.S. still hasn't federally legalized cannabis, so importing it would require a complete rewrite of our own laws. But that's the point Petro's making. It's time for Washington to stop clinging to the past and start building a future that actually works. He's not trying to smuggle a new trade route past customs. He's trying to open one right through the front door. So while Trump's talking tariffs and America first, Petro's over here pitching humanity first, legal farming, fewer cartels, cleaner trade. It's a rare kind of common sense coming out of global politics these days. Maybe, just maybe, this is what the end of the war on drugs looks like. Not with a bang, but with a handshake and a trade agreement. I'm Stone Slade with the High at 9 News.
Man, I'm trying to find his X page. Stone. I want to.
Gotta find it.
Yeah.
Petro. Gustavo Petro.
Yeah, that's not it though. Oh, there we go.
I think Trump and Pete Hegseth are having too much fun blowing ships up now.
I found it.
Give a lot of serious consideration to this. That's a prohibitionist mentality. We're just going to kick your ass because you're doing what we told you not to do. I mean, I'm hopeful, Stone, that somebody breaks through this. The United States has been the tail wagging the dog for international drug policy now since like 1960 when they had the last convention on International Convention on Drugs. And it's like we're hanging on like Gollum to the ring. You know, we just can't let go of this. And, you know, when you can blow up a ship and get all these headlines, it's like, well, are you going to give that up easily? I'm not sure.
I think that this is very interesting. I mean, at the same time, though, you know, I don't know why we would import weed from Colombia without, you know, legalizing it here first. And working on, you know, home growing our own market here with you know, California cannabis, you know what I mean, and really bolstering that as an agricultural crop. But I do like the fact that the President Gustavo said this. I think it is super interesting, and I'm looking for the X post right now. I did finally find his page, and I am going to repost that on our X page, and so. I will let you know.
Never say never. You know, Trump's willing to buy beef from Argentina. So, you know, maybe F the California farmer and get it from Colombia.
No.
Not my opinion. Not my opinion. I just want to put that. No. That's not what I'm saying.
Stop it.
I love you, California farmers.
Just for a little bit of other perspective on this scenario, I've known people who have been focused on the Colombian market for quite a while. And since day one, pretty much, for the most part, they've been saying that Colombia is positioning itself to be the international giant amongst others for cannabis. That is to say that they want the world's cannabis to come from Colombia, which seems like a reasonable and maybe even achievable dream. On one point, you have Jason saying, well, why not the U.S.? I mean, why not indeed, right? It'd be nice for everybody here to get on the same page, you know, team last, right? It would also be at the same time a really clear and straightforward step in the same direction that I've seen so far, that basically has suggested that they want to be this world leader. And it makes sense that that would be a boundary they'd want to cross over, which is making sure that, you know, brother USA is okay with what they're going to be doing and how these steps are going to be taken now that they've actually been focused on and have grown an infrastructure, including people who I know who've been spending amazing amounts of time in Colombia that are clearly focused on what these types of efforts seem all too close to be coincidental. They're building themselves up, as they should be, to be a world leader in this new world export. And why not have, just like the world's bananas might come from someplace, or the world's avocado, or the world's garlic, go Gilroy, right? Those all come from places like that. So this might just be the next export. If anything, it's a shame that it's not going to be the US that saw things with this level of foresight in order to have lined themselves up the same way.
I have a question.
I mean, they had the people. We've basically exported our experts out their way so that they could bank off of what we should have been doing in the first place.
I have a question for you. Would you rather, because the thing about it is they're not going to be able to just say, hey, you know what, the Colombia cannabis is okay to be imported into the U.S. Because without allowing Canada to be able to import into the U.S. And so would you rather smoke Canadian boof or Colombian boof?
So the answer is not going to be, in my humble opinion, about who's producing the boof, because if you go to a grocery store and you look at the production, of goods from that perspective in terms of what all the different groceries and goods are and what goes into them, or if you look at raw ingredients, what you can be purchasing, where's that flour coming from that is in that Bisquick or in those Chips Ahoy cookies or any number of things that are sourced from very small parts into the overall amassed product. And if you're looking for where the individual small ingredients come from and what gets imported and exported in mass, and a humongous part of the market that essentially commands the whole supply chain and the ebb and flow of things, we little people hear exactly what happens when supply chains get affected and we get little glimpses of it. These people are actually the supply chains. Let's be real about it, because it isn't just what you see and what's tangible. Virtually nothing is. You see a car, you don't see the 8 million tons of steel that was delivered at once and everything that went into it to build that whole production run of cars, right? Whatever it might be. That's the whole idea of how things get produced and who's in charge right now. It's those people who had the foresight to understand these things and how to take advantage of them at fundamental levels. And again, they've exported our specialists. Don't overlook that. Like they literally saw this coming. They literally knew where to go, which is here. And said, okay, those people know what we need to do. So since we can see what they can't see, we're going to go do this. I mean, just say it out loud. Like, it's crazy. It's almost embarrassing, just throwing it out there. Just like we should take a moment of silence to just acknowledge the kind of mistakes we as a people make by allowing this stuff to happen, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, because everybody's responsible for this suckiness. Just let it soak in.
So, you mentioned Bisquick. Bisquick. You remember Bisquick?
I do remember mentioning it, although, it was an empty reference. I've not done the appropriate research to properly know where they source their flour from. You might be about to tell me that they do it from orphanages, and I'm going to look really bad.
Well, this is the thing, is that if they did source their flour from cannabis, it would be Bisquick, because you know how the cannabis industry loves to throw Z's in everything.
The stylistic misspellings. Yeah.
It would definitely be Bisquick, and they probably use the same font, same color scheme, but just throw a Z in there.
Oh, I'd like to know, can we agree on a definition of boof?
Yeah.
Because
it's weed that I wouldn't smoke, Dale.
What?
It's weed that I would not smoke. That's the definition of boof.
Whether you smoke it or not.
The world does.
They're not going to be selling cannabis in California or in the United States for Jason Beck to smoke.
Yeah, they are.
There's a lot of boof out there. I'll disagree with Jason on a lot of things, but oh my God, don't pass me the boof.
See.
I politely decline.
I mean, I'm with Dale. You guys don't represent the market itself. I would I would say personally, you should only drink really, really good beer that's pretty damn expensive, but that doesn't stop Anheuser-Busch from buying islands at will, So that's the level that I think we should focus on when we talk about some of the things moving these ideas, because realistically, when we talk about international trade and commerce, I mean, literally we're on that level. So like to stick to point, I mean, this is big shit. Like you can't ignore that that's how it works.
I 100% agree with you. The majority of the population is going to be that natty light, that natty light smoker. So
the common man takes swag. I mean, every person gets to choose their preference on what they like to consume. That is the best version of that. But and everybody's preferences differ. You know, some people the best beer, some people the best whiskey, some people the best cannabis. That's what makes us all different and beautiful in that kind of blah, blah, blah sort of sense right there. Everybody gets to choose their own path. That's a perfect example of it. But no matter how you look at it, maybe my hat is the swag of hats or the booth of hats, or maybe like whatever cord went into this hoodie isn't the best version of that. It's all about choosing what you think is best. And in this sense, what you guys like is the best, we should just point out there, and the whole philosophy at all, as people who like the best, you also like in some areas the worst, because there's certain things you do with your day where other people would be like, oh, you know, pish posh, I'm so far above that. Like, just imagine this, you know, like take that wide angle look for a moment, because I do agree with you. Don't smoke the booth. But I mean, at the same time, when we're talking global trade don't give an ish about you. Like that's not how stuff works. When people figured out how to grow their flower that made it into umpteen different products, they have no clue of what your preference is, and they don't need to, because they know you're going to buy one of their products one way or another. They already got you. Like, you know, like that's how shit works. And so that's what I'd want to sort of cement in that around that point. Yeah, don't smoke the booth, but you're still smoking the booth.
See?
Well, there are traditional growing areas around the planet, the Atlas Mountains, Baca Valley, South Africa, where Durban poison came from. And we've got the triangle up here in California. But I live up in the foothills, which is a Mediterranean dry summertime climate. And we produce different weed than you produce over in the triangle than you produce in South Africa, where it's hot and moist, in Colombia, where it's hot and moist. Oh, I mean, if we're talking about bulk markets, you understand this, you know, that if we want 1 million pounds of something to come into a country, where are you going to get that from? Most of it's going to be what, you know, Jason likes to call booth.
It is.
And they'll be competing at the top levels. But if you look at the alcohol industry, the average bottle of wine's like between $8 and $10. Okay. Is that the high quality stuff? No, but that's what most people are buying. And that's where the market's going to probably take us. If we can get our head over our ass enough, just let the market do this and stop the, you know, thumb on the scale trying to prohibit it, and they just go around it. We used to get, you know, Colombian gold when, you know, way back in the day. That was some of the best stuff around. I'd like to see that same stuff grown with a little more integrity and not be just dried out, stuffed into a bag and shipped to the United States. Go, here you go. It's better than the shit we're smoking. Well, how good can you get it? And I was part of the Appalachians Project here in California, and there are some very fine growers, some very high quality product coming out of the triangle. But most of California weed is, you know, average, which you might call boof. You want to use that term.
I think cannabis actually needs to regress for the sake of quality. I feel like we need more like tasting festivals and farmers markets variants of cannabis, so that there's more of an encouragement for everybody to try everything. Because realistically, with what limitations we have in the market, that all we can do is have a relatively clear jar, cool logo, and then supposedly the highest THC possible. Okay, go. That's all you get to market your product. It's not really giving cannabis any credit, and it's not really giving certain strains, which happen to be low THC or have a certain flavor profile that people have yet to try, but everybody who tries it loves it. It just doesn't leave that kind of stuff open. Honestly, I would like to see a place like California, which has the best of the best. We should regress. Like, we should look at how farmers markets do it and how we can communicate craft goods, because that's the kind of stuff that makes us special. The terroir of it all that you were alluding to there, Dale, is some of the best stuff. When I go up to the northernmost reaches of California for cannabis, I try not to bring my own, and I stop at every little shop and I say, okay, what do you guys grow here? Because it's going to be different from 100 miles in any direction. And that's beautiful. to be able to see and feel and taste like that level of variation. And, just to throw it out there to anybody listening, and this blows people's minds online whenever I say this out there on, anything, YouTube or Reddit or whatever, but what I generally smoke and really, really enjoy tends to be lower than 20% THC. It's just there's so much more to choose from that range. And people, when they're not afraid to grow a strain that's just around that range, like even has a number 1 in front of it and doesn't scare people to death from buying it, then that's going to be oftentimes where the most variation of flavor and goodness comes out. Sure, some 2021 slip in there, but generally speaking, if somebody's growing for flavor and difference, you tend not to see high numbers, and those by far are going to be the best experience. I would say crowning above everything, including THC, freshness. And I'm like you, Jason, I will consume joints. I will smoke them like they're going out of style all day, every day, if I had the ability to. And there's nothing better than just going through Northern California, picking up just the equivalent of small, craft grown operations everywhere from different regions, and just throwing that all in your head. And there's nothing like it, because it's all different and it's all amazing. And you'll get so many different sensations where you're like, oh yeah, that's why I started smoking weed in the first place. And that's like, there's so much of that, like, that's wasted from the market out there, like any direction you look at it. So I guess that's my diatribe for the moment.
Fair enough.
Gavin Newsom just vetoed that, though. See, that's the problem.
Yep, he did.
He said his excuse was it's going to cost too much to fix metric. Well, and hopefully I can cover this next week. Catalyst just kicked the DCC's ass over metric.
Yes.
And their responsibility. So, hopefully we can see the court stepping in and forcing these mental midgets that run the DCC to fix their problems, because Forrest Gump is getting around metric right now. Yes. And it's like, you guys need to fix this shit, because if you can get this much going out, and it's the state tends to get computer programs that are worthless as tits on a bull, and then keep spending millions of dollars trying to fix them rather than getting a good program from the gate. And let's just see, because California now is in a state of flux over this, and Newsom tried to do something. I hope he gets his ass kicked over it, because we need to open this up. Kids are getting weed anyway. Okay, so stop. Oh, what about the children? Yeah. Let's set this up so we can have farmers markets or deliver right to people from a micro business or something. We can help the farmers and the grow, because they're dying out here. They got no choice but to divert it to New York or Atlanta or wherever, because we have an oversupply here in California, and it's not being thrown away. Trust me, it's going somewhere. We need to get it in the state and open this up. But is it going to happen? Who knows? We'll see how this catalyst thing goes.
We shall see. And Anna, I just sent you a message in the chat. Hopefully Elliot will send us over those documents, and then we'll have you cover this next Wednesday, Dale. So that's that will be the goal. But on that, we are going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's Joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Yes, and we are back. And we are going to roll right into Mr. Nate Winokur, who was prosecuted unjustly by the DCC and was forced to give up his lab license, but now he teaches the world on the best platform ever, YouTube and social media, how all about teaching bud, the do's and don'ts, and what works and what doesn't work. And you can check it out with Teaching Bud. It is none other than Mr. Nate Winokur.
Thank you for that lineup right there, Jason.
Yes.
And thank you, everybody, for having me. My name is Nate, and today's story comes from Cannabis Health News. Cannabis Health News is a UK publication, and I seem to be seeing a lot of the positive stories with cannabis coming out of Europe these days. You know, I do searches for cannabis science, cannabis health news, and so forth. And I don't know what the trend might be, but it seems like a lot of US-based publications seem to be on a little bit of a trend of trying to damn cannabis and highlight a lot of the negative articles, where other places where it is much more strongly rooted in healthcare and acceptance, I'm seeing the opposite, where they can't say enough good things about it. So this is from Cannabis Health News out of the UK. Medical cannabis in psychiatry, from neurodiversity to mental health. A growing number of patients are now prescribed medical cannabis for common mental health issues and neurodiverse conditions such as autism and ADHD. Many patients in the UK are now taking cannabis for a number of different psychiatric conditions. Data collected through Drug Science's T21 patient registry over the last few years shows that after chronic pain, anxiety is actually the second most common indication for which cannabis-based medicines are prescribed. Other mental health conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, depression, substance use disorder, and insomnia follow closely behind, alongside neurodiverse conditions such as autism spectrum disorder, ASD, and attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. However, the use of medical cannabis in psychiatry and the potential risks in this patient population remain one of the most debated areas of current research and practice. And it's important to note that this treatment won't be suitable for everyone, such as those with a previous history of serious psychiatric conditions such as psychosis or schizophrenia. In what is thought to be the largest data set of its kind, Canadian researchers surveyed over 7,000 patients authorized to access medical cannabis products. According to their findings in the journal Psychiatry Research, patients with symptoms of anxiety and/or depression reported sustained improvements following the use of cannabis. The same year, a pilot study in Australia found that young people with treatment-resistant anxiety had an average 42.6% reduction in severity and impairment following 12 weeks of treatment with CBD. Researchers at Washington State University also analyzed data from hundreds of people who recorded their symptoms before and after cannabis consumption using the tracking app StrainPrint. Their findings showed that in people who self-reported as having PTSD, cannabis reduced the severity of intrusive thoughts by about 62%, flashbacks by 51%, irritability by 67%, and anxiety by 57%. Those are some solid integers, guys. A follow-up study reported that users with OCD reported that cannabis reduced their compulsions by 60%, intrusions or unwanted thoughts by 49%, and anxiety by 52%. In the UK, real-world data has previously revealed that the vast majority of patients report improvements in their anxiety or depression symptoms after 3 months of medical cannabis treatment. So what about the clinical trials? When it comes to those, studies are generally small and limited in number, but a few have indicated promising potential. Results from a phase 2 clinical trial published in 2022 found CBD to be effective for symptom reduction in patients with anxiety with few side effects. Meanwhile, in one of the first human clinical trials on the cannabinoid CBG, which is cannabigerol, it demonstrated efficacy in reducing anxiety and stress when compared to a placebo. Small trials of THC-based medicines in Tourette syndrome have reported reductions in tic frequency and severity, while early work in PTSD suggests that cannabinoids may ease trauma-related nightmares. Clinical research in OCD, ADHD, and autism remain preliminary. Several trials in children and adolescents have tested CBD-rich formulations, with some studies reporting improvements in clinician-rated disruptive behavior, social interaction, and sleep. It should also be noted that the children's age, which was also studied but not 100% delved into here, are also areas of differentiation and where some other interesting findings were. Then, interestingly, among the most encouraging findings so far come from research on schizophrenia, where several randomized controlled trials of CBD have shown modest but meaningful benefits when used alongside existing antipsychotic medications. That's huge, especially in the fact that they are working with the chemical cocktails. Speaking to Cannabis Health previously, Dr. Ranaj Singh, a consultant psychiatrist specializing in neurodevelopmental psychiatry, commented, "For many people, medicinal cannabis can offer great opportunity to improve executive functioning, attention, concentration, as well as emotional regulation, alongside reducing anxiety and sleep problems, which are very common in people with neurodevelopmental conditions, as well as in those with other psychiatric conditions. Medicinal cannabis can also be effective where there are very few existing treatment options. So epilepsy would be a really good example of that." And that is a pretty badass article, in my humble opinion, about some of the recent findings. In a lot of those ways, we've been drawn to cannabis. And as far as cannabis affects us and what we have understood have been the benefits personally, it's really interesting to see that reflected now in terms of these large-scale findings, and in many areas where it's encouraged that medical professionals who aren't actually representing pharmaceuticals in that environment actually have something to say, and very important things to say about our favorite plant. And it's very realistic. And I've said this so many times before, but the world needs so much more of this. So that's what I think. I would love to see what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, High at Nine News. And on to my co-correspondents. Thank you guys as well.
Oh, man. This is great news, bro. This is just more research, more data, just showing all of the great things about cannabis, and actually putting it in a palatable form, almost like a THCA capsule stone.
What's the matter with you?
I'm just saying. This is
a great article.
Yeah,
great article, Nate.
Thank you.
Look at that, bro. We got a good story out of the cannabis space. I'm pretty excited today.
Those were huge reductions, by the way, guys. I mean, like, that's not even like up for debate level.
I know.
Like numbers. Like, that's like, you're like, if you were the debater that had to argue against those numbers,
you can't argue against that.
Scared to death right there. There's no way you can refute that information.
You could
delivered from medical professionals with everything to lose. And only reporting the benefits that they see.
The only argument you can make on that, Nate, is the fact that there's so much bad weed and so much. So if you're doing the bad weed, you're not going to get numbers as high as that, because I'm sure that was with the good weed.
Was that like just a sideways attack on Delta 8 right there again, or I can't tell, but either which way. Fresh cannabis, good cannabis is definitely going to, I think, be an improvement in this. And we could simply say that the fresher it is, the better of an intact chemical structure, just like any fruit or vegetable or anything else.
It's a degrading product. It's a degrading. Once you cut it, it's dead. It's automatically degrading.
1000%. Very well put, brother.
Go for it, Dale. What do you got to say?
Well, the problem that I faced in the medical profession is that it's easier to swallow treating someone who's refractory to typical pharmaceuticals, cannabis, than it is to make it a mainstream first choice treatment. That's the battle we've fought. I've been in court a few times where you've got a kid that is, about to jump off a building because they're so screwed up in their head. Nothing else has worked. They give them a pot brownie, and the teacher thinks it's, what'd you do to this kid? And they try to take the kid away from the parents. I mean, I've been in, court on things like this. And that seems to be much more palatable than let's pull out all the statistics for all these pharmaceuticals that are supposed to be the first line of treatment for these conditions. And let's set up some studies where we compare the efficacy of these drugs versus cannabis. Now, I'd like to see it going there, because I think we all have a suspicion of where it's going to go. And that is the problem. Because what Molly and I saw 25 years ago or more when we started doing this, is if you give people the choice between taking some of these pharmaceuticals that have serious side effects and letting them smoke weed, guess what they're going to choose to do? And that's a threat to the pharmaceutical industry.
Yep.
Every group of chemicals that are used to treat a condition, if they don't work and you turn to cannabis, it's like now everyone's a believer. But I want to see people have a choice. And this, I'd like to see it through nutraceuticals too, which really just pisses off the pharmaceutical industry. Be able to go to a health food store and buy something that has a combination of cannabinoids and terpenes in it and use it to treat this stuff and not have to go through the equivalent of a pharmacy or any kind of things like that. Because that's what people are actually doing when they find out that roll up a joint or hitting my pipe takes away my dreams at night and my startle effect from going to war. It's like, well, why wouldn't you want to promote that? Well, because that takes away from profits in the pharmaceutical industry. And whether we like it or not, they have a lot more clout in Congress than the typical pot smoker does. And that's why when I tell you the hemp industry is moving forward, as that gets its legs and starts making a lot of money, then Rand Paul takes their call. It's like, don't do this, Rand. You're going to kill our industry. He goes to Congress and goes, we're not going to do it because we got an industry running. We'll get somewhere. It's a continuing mess here, and money and big corporations are in the middle of it. And what I'm telling people, if you find out that smoking weed helps you, do it. Okay. In most places, you can do that legally, and we need to expand people's understanding of what you can treat with this. Because if you got a seizure disorder, I think we talked about that in my story yesterday. If you got a seizure disorder, the drugs they give you, oh my God, I have no idea the side effects of these things and what they do to you. And Dilantin's one of them. I mean, there's a bunch of them that just blunt your effect. I mean, it's horrible. And smoking a joint or taking some Epidiolex or a tincture or something like that that'll control a kid with an out-of-control seizure disorder, parents are in heaven, okay? They're not concerned about this. They don't see all the problems.
I have a friend with, a seizure disorder, and years and years down the line, 5-6 years, it has yet to be properly diagnosed. They change up his cocktail every time he has a couple of seizures, which is every 6 weeks or so. To say he's a different person is, not even close. A shadow of a shadow of a shadow. It is not, unfortunately, the same human that modern medicine has a chance to have tried, and they haven't actually made it better. Now, I am not the doctor or series, unfortunately, of doctors who've juggled around my friend to have been able to give me this perspective. But to say that it's not figured out and that people would look for that alternative is the understatement.
I know this I know this all too well because I have a seizure disorder and I've had a grand mal seizure in my sleep, and I had these doctors put me on this anti-seizure medicine and whatnot. They ended up like overdosing me on this medicine to where like it was just a whole bad situation. And I went in there telling them all these different side effects that I was having, and I was like, this isn't me. This doesn't make sense. And they're like, oh, well, the levels of it in your blood are supposed to be in between 10 and 20. They took my blood. Those levels were over 30. I was like, how are you guys going to do that? And they said, hey, you know what? It's not a science. Everybody's different. We got to figure it out here and there and here and there. It's basically like the beginning user using cannabis. You just got to try it and figure out, and you're basically their lab rat. And that's just it's a very unfortunate situation. And I finally just quit them all cold turkey. I said I'd rather have fewer days of just being normal me than being the person that these things make me. And I just said screw it all and just, you know what, I'm just going to ride it out.
Yeah, good on you. That's after seeing what it's done to my friend. I mean, honestly, I think that's the only sane conclusion that I would have come up with as well.
Exactly. Well, I have one final story for you guys, and thank you for all the love in the comments. Much love to everybody, Anna and Potman and there was someone else I just saw. Sorry, I'm missing it. But there's an Oversight Committee testimony sends shockwaves through a South Dakota medical marijuana industry, you guys, because invited speakers spent much of the day-long meeting criticizing cannabis. You believe that? Representatives of South Dakota medical marijuana businesses said they were alarmed Wednesday after a state committee that oversees the industry spent much of an all-day meeting listening to invited speakers who warned about health risks and other dangers. Emmett Resurface of Genesis Farms in Sioux Falls spoke during the public comment session at the end of the meeting, and in a quote says, "My phone has been blowing up with text messages," he said. "There's kind of a shockwave going through our community right now, and the speakers that were invited, most of whom were out of state." Resurface also said he fears the committee is involved in a coordinated effort to restrict or repeal the state's medical marijuana program, which voters approved in 2020 and the states implemented in 2022. There are currently 16,477 patient cards issued in the state, and Resurface's comments resulted in the chairwoman of the Medical Marijuana Oversight Committee, Representative Josephine Garcia, a Republican from Watertown, cutting him off. In a quote, "There has been no intention at all for any agenda this meeting other than to follow what was not done when this program was first rolled out," Garcia said. "That was my first and only intention here, and if you're insinuating that me, as the chair, have said something or orchestrated something, I have not done that. It is awareness for the public. This is a public safety issue," she says. The panel of speakers included medical professionals and retired law enforcement officers from other states who shared concerns about overprescription, youth access, mental health impacts, and blurring between medical and adult use cannabis. Ed Moses, a retired law enforcement officer from Missouri, talked about various dangers of marijuana, and he alleged medical marijuana is a Trojan horse for adult use marijuana. He says, "Marijuana can change who we are and our values," he told the committee. Karen Randall, an emergency medicine physician from Colorado, said she sees adults and children come into the emergency room due to marijuana-related incidents, and she told a story about a child getting a highly potent marijuana candy product from the back of a dispensary without any identification and ending up in the emergency room. But Dale, she didn't die, Dale. She didn't die. But Randall said Colorado has become overloaded with various marijuana products, and it's now the drug of choice for kids there. In a quote, "They're not drinking, they're not smoking like they used to. They're using marijuana," she said. University of Oklahoma professor John Duncan, who works in the College of Medicine, advised the committee to treat medical marijuana like traditional medications, including prescribed dosing, and he also said the committee should watch out for synthetic forms of marijuana that come with a host of other side effects. Colorado addiction psychiatrist Libby Stewart told the committee that medical marijuana is not the post-traumatic stress disorder solution that medical marijuana proponents allege, and she said patients who are prescribed medical marijuana for health disorders often mistake the feeling of withdrawal for needing more medicine, blurring treatment and addiction. And Wednesday's lineup also included Sioux Falls Superintendent James Nold, who said marijuana has become a problem in schools with students accessing products through adults. Man, Jeremiah Murphy, who lobbies for the medical marijuana industry, told committee members during a public comment period that they should take pride in the state's program, and says, "If you think about what you heard today, they hardly landed a punch on the South Dakota program," he said. "They showed you real significant problems in Oklahoma." And Resurface said the medical marijuana industry is taking heart for local smoke shops selling illegal products, including those with hemp-derived but chemically modified ingredients. And he said they are the ones selling high-dose candy bars and products that attract kids. "We are not yet. We are getting painted with their brush," he said. The committee made no formal recommendations and took no notes during the meeting. The committee's members were appointed by the legislature's executive board, and the membership includes legislators and non-legislators, with state law requiring membership from the medical, counseling, law enforcement, and patient communities, you guys. Well. Sounds like South Dakota, they're trying to sandbag your program with a whole bunch of prohibitionist rhetoric from out of town, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this, because they're going to town. Stone, this sounds like a story out of Texas.
Muted.
You're on mute, Stone. You're on mute. He's on mute.
Sorry, I was far away from this page. I hate to say it, Jason. I didn't get to hear a whole lot of that story from the Discord skip problem, man. You almost that whole story. I heard every third word or so. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to read the article.
Yeah, you're gonna have to read the article, Stone. I'm sorry that Discord is making you experience this, but I'm glad that all of our audience is not missing a beat of all these glorious talking points that I have today, Stone. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Basically, there was a whole bunch.
Jason, you pointed out the obvious problem, and I'd like to have, let's sit down with a physician, and let's talk about the real problems that you face with substances in children and stuff like that. Quit screaming the sky's falling and everyone's hair's on fire. Because, if you're an emergency physician, and you've been doing it for a while, you have seen people die from drug overdoses. Okay. You know what that's all about. More people died last year from distracted driving than they did driving stoned.
Yep.
Okay.
Great point.
So if we take a look at what's actually happening on the ground, I'm waiting for a time when the people that are in charge tell these people, hey, stick a sock in it, buddy, because you're full of shit. I worked in an emergency room, and I've taken care of kids who got a hold of their mom and dad's brownies, okay, and the kid that ate some Tylenol.
Yep.
Brownies, slept it off. The Tylenol we had to bury. Okay. Let's talk about reality. The scare tactics, at some point, we're going to be beyond scare tactics.
It's like that shirt. Dale, it's like that shirt. You know what I mean? Have you seen that shirt that people wear around? It's like, but did you die?
No.
That's what,
have.
Yeah.
And, and the real problem is that you can't pull up hard statistics that back up what they're saying. Bring in a doctor who, for whatever reason, will say this kind of stupid shit, and people actually believe it. But when you pull out in THSA statistics about, is weed driving causing accidents? No. Okay. Driving around on your cell phone causes more. Do people die from weed? No. Never been an overdose death from it. Okay. But they don't want to talk about that. They want to continue the scare tactics. I'm hoping that people are getting beyond that. Because of all the medically active plants in the world, I think it was Judge Francis Young in '85 said this is the safest medically active plant on the planet. He was a DEA judge. Okay, this ain't brand new stuff. And if we really take about what you should be concerned about your kids doing, this modern piece of shit right here is a whole lot more harmful to your children than smoking weed. And we talk about that. Okay, instead of this nonsense, the scare tactics. It's getting real old, and apparently it works for somebody.
Yeah. It
irritates me to no end, and it's like, just sit down, shut the fuck up, and take some notes, dude. We don't want to hear from you no more.
Fair enough. Interesting. Well, on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing, even if they're only are getting to hear me every other word. But thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Gabriel are somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Trademarked.